Welcome to another episode of the Victory Podcast, driven by Audi. I'm your host, Keely Eure, joined by my co-host and former USC quarterback, Cody Kessler. Cody, we are finally back, and we're doing a hybrid episode. We're going to talk a little bit about Purdue and your thoughts from that game, Cody, and then we're going to preview USC versus Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm excited. We got a little hybrid episode. That is my fault, though. I will take full responsibility for this. I know that we missed the recap episode for Purdue. We normally record that on Sunday, but I had a conflict with my schedule. I've been doing the new show, The Arena Gridiron, which has been amazing. You guys have been awesome with your support and watching that show. But we had a scheduling conflict that happened last minute. So instead of recording on Sunday, I had to watch 9 hours of NFL football and get ready for our Monday episode. Then I did Tuesday's episode as well, so we couldn't record Monday. So it was not Keely's immune system.
Breaking news.
As I'm sure everyone thought.
For the first time in the history of the show.
Yeah. So I take full blame for that. I apologize. But going forward, we've got that figured out a little bit better now. I've talked to the Arena Gridiron, that show, talked to Keely, talked to everyone here. We should not have any more conflicts in the future. But with that being said, we are talking Purdue. We're also talking Michigan State. Let's pack the Coliseum on Saturday, 8 p.m. kickoff. A little bit of a late one, but either way, make sure you're there. And you know, Big Ten football in the Coliseum, there's nothing better than that.
Look, you joke with me about being big time. I don't know.
Hey,
projection a little bit, I'm just saying. Big time over here.
In my defense, it was not – like we had everything scheduled. We had it planned. I know you had – and the travel back because of the weather delay and all that, I'm sure was brutal. We're like, okay, we'll do it a little bit later in the afternoon. Everything's fine. And boom.
Like we were set,
Yeah, and then I get a text saying, hey, Cody, can you go Monday, Tuesday this week? Sorry, it's last minute. Obviously, this is huge as well, but that was a – big opportunity and great for my career going forward.
Like I said, big time.
Yeah. But, hey, you know what? I remember where I came from. This is what
Humble
started
roots,
everything.
Please.
But yeah, I did conflict a little bit. And I talked to them when I was there. They're awesome. I mean, everyone that does that show is unbelievable. They just said, hey, this is not going to happen in the future. We'll make sure that we can get the scheduling a little bit better so you can still do the Victory Podcast where everything started. So
there we go.
I do apologize, though. That was my fault.
Alrighty, before we dive into it, just a couple reminders. Be sure to subscribe to our socials, Victory Pod USC. That's where you can get scheduling updates, or you can ask a question either on Instagram for a question box or Twitter for a tweet. Also, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and look at the USC Athletics YouTube channel if you want to watch the video version. Yeah. We're going simulcast for the last couple of years, and we're keeping on. So,
hey, elephant in the room too. If you've been watching, we got a new angle. Now it's not as to the side.
You can't hide, Cody.
Emily, put me on camera one, Emily. See, look, I'm right in your living room. I'm no more to the side. So we're trying it out this week. Let us know if you like it. I have been wearing a hat, so I tend to get going.
You tend to hide from the camera a little bit.
I do, but now there's nowhere to hide, and yeah, it's a new angle this week.
Well, with that new angle, let's head into the Purdue recap. First off, USC's offense, Cody. I know you like to start with the quarterback performance. What did you see from Jaden Maiava?
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Maiava. I mean, this is his first road start this season, and it's easy to do it the first 2 weeks at home, but I wanted to see if he can keep that up when you have other elements. And obviously the biggest one was the weather delay, and that's so tough. We can get into that a little bit before we go into Michigan State after we talk offense, defense. But for a quarterback, and really for anyone on the roster, I mean, you're so schedule-based and schedule-driven on game day to where, and, like we've talked about before, being superstitious or maybe a little stitious. Yes. But, I mean, I was wake up, get dressed at this time, eat this, study the playbook a little bit at this time, maybe do a little bit more film, and it's just everything is one after another. This is when my warm-up happens. All those things are predetermined, and it helps you get into game mode and get into the zone. And then when that's thrown out the window and you have something like this, it's so tough because you're not used to that environment or doing those type of things. I thought Jaden handled it perfectly, and that was the first guy I looked at. Who's the leader on this team? Your quarterback. How is he going to come out and play? That first drive was awesome. Love the way that he protected the football. I mean, it's cool because we're watching him develop in real time. I mean, you could tell in the offseason, watched a lot of film and worked with Lincoln Riley, and he took that next step, but he is continuing to climb that ladder, and we're watching it in real time. There were a couple times in that game where he had the ball and the play broke down, and I could see down the field, and I'm like, don't do it. Ran to the right, threw it away. Checked it down. Didn't compound the problem. Didn't make a bad play worse. Now, there are some accuracy things I think he can continue to improve on. Some of the timing things, and then he had that comeback on the left sideline. Threw it a little bit late and a little bit inside. Get that outside. Had a couple turnover-worthy throws or risky throws. This was the first time he's done that, but that's me being critical. Overall, 0 turnovers. In this type of game, when your defense is playing as well as they did, and we'll talk about that in a minute, a couple things they can fix, but they were playing great in this game. They were getting the turnovers. They were getting off the field. When you're struggling to put up a lot of points on offense, and then they weren't great on third down, weren't great in the red zone, you just can't make that bad play. You can't lose the game. I don't need you to go out there and win the game and be Superman. You just can't make that crucial error to lose the game. And for Purdue, Ryan Brown was making those mistakes. Jaden Maiava didn't. So overall, very impressed with him. I'm excited to see how he can continue to develop.
Well, it was interesting hearing from Coach Riley on Trojans Live. He was saying that it was a mixed bag when he looks at the offensive performance because obviously they had those deep balls like Jaden and Jacoby Lane were connecting there. But then obviously, like you just talked about, red zone, you can't get it done. Yeah,
you got to finish in the end zone. It's tough, especially on the road. And I know Sayuri missed one kick, but overall, I was proud of his performance. That's his first road environment, too, in that type of atmosphere. So good job or it's good to have a field goal kicker that can go out and away games and get you some points. But when you have an offense with Jaden Maiava, with Jacoby Lane, with Mekhi Lemon, the running backs that we have, as good as the offensive line's playing, and then you have a play caller like Lincoln Riley, you can't come up with 3 in the red zone. You've got to go finish in the end zone in those type of games, especially against Purdue, who's struggling. They're not going to be able to keep up, but when you settle for 3, you keep them in the ball game. And then the other thing, 4 of 13 on third down, like I just mentioned, not good enough. When you're in that atmosphere, the crowd becomes a factor on third down. It gets loud. When you convert on first down, or you can convert and extend the drive and get a first down, that takes them out of it. And then they get a little bit less on those third downs because, hey, what's the point? Our defense can't get off the field. You're extending drives. When you go 4 of 13, not only are you struggling as an offense, you also keep that 12th man, that crowd into the game as well.
Well, I mentioned the deep ball and how well that was working. What did you see from the pass game on the whole?
Yeah, I mean, Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon just continue to get better. I'm still going to stand on that hill. I mean, they are the best receiver duo in college football right now. I'm not being biased. I really don't think I am. I mean, that go ball to Jacoby early in the game, the other one too on the left sideline both times. I mean, it was a little stutter. I don't want to say stutter post or a sluggo, but he hesitated a little bit. Thought he was going to break down on third down. The DB's trying to play the sticks and jump the ball, runs right by him. And that's another point too. Jaden Maiava's deep ball accuracy this game and throwing that rainbow ball that you drop in the bucket, you've got to put some air under it so your guy can go get it. Perfect. And they rep that at practices this week. They worked on it a lot. But like I said, Lane and Lemon Lane. I mean, we've got a bunch of – that was cool too. I got a bunch of messages.
Lemonade?
Yeah, Lemonade. Isn't that an app though? I feel like that's an app right now.
Possibly, yes. I think it's
because that was the best one I heard. We're getting off topic. But what we said last week was – we've got to come up with some T-shirt or some some merch for Lemon and Lane. It just sounds too cool to not have.
But it's like lemonade.
Okay.
Lemonade.
All right, we'll go with that.
We'll
TM it if we can. I think it is an app. But whatever you want to call them, they've been balling. They've been playing some football. That they are going to be huge this year going forward for Jaden Maiava and this offense. It's just so tough for a defense to prepare for them because they bring something different to the game. Mekhi's a little bit more quicker and can get in out and breaks a little bit better. Jacoby's that possession receiver that also has top-end speed, which is rare at his size, can go make those plays and those 50-50 balls. So both of them are dangerous. But a guy I want to shout out in the pass game, Tanook Hines this week.
I know.
Now, I'll start with the negative. I wish he would have had that one-hander in the end zone. That would have been – that would have sealed him for the rest of the year. It's like, all right, he's a playmaker. He's the real deal. But I still think he's so close to that. The other one that stood out in the positive, that third down, when it was 3rd and 10 and Jaden Maiava threw the ball up and threw it into some traffic, but he trusted Tanook Hines to go make the play, and he did. I can't tell you what that does for that chemistry between Maiava and Hines. I mean, it's for him to even give him that opportunity in that moment tells you how much he trusts the guy to do that. I mean, it's risky to let Jacoby Lane go make that play, but you're trusting a true freshman in his first road environment to go make that play on third down in a crucial point in the game to where you've got to extend the drive. That was phenomenal. So I can't wait to see him develop. And then the other thing I have here in all caps, keep feeding Lake McCree.
Yeah.
Keep getting McCree the football. Walker Lyons is also a great 1-2 punch, but keep getting Lake the ball. He is such a great pass catcher. I mean, he had the injury last year, and I was worried about how he was going to bounce back. I think he looks as good as he ever has since he's been here at USC. I truly believe that.
It's wild.
He looks so comfortable. He looks quick. He looks fast. It doesn't look like that injury from a year ago is affecting him. He is a threat in the middle of the field. I love that Lincoln Riley's dialing up the game plan to make it a point of emphasis to have him as the first read or the first progression in the pass game. Maiava understands that. He's getting them that football. He's a threat in the red zone. When you have a lot of great receivers, awesome. That's great. You want that on offense, but when you have a pass catching tight end, a legit pass catching tight end, look at Gronk and Travis Kelce and guys that are problems for opposing defensive coordinators. That makes your offense so much more dynamic, and that adds another element to where now that you can't just bring in a nickel every single time when you're an 11 personnel or 3 wide. You have to play a safety down there or a linebacker to cover Lake McCree, and then you get advantages in the pass game.
What's funny about Tanook is that we got to talk to him for the first time since he's a true freshman at practice after Tuesday, and he was asked about the touchdown pass that you mentioned that he didn't catch.
Oh, that was... Man.
The fire in his eyes that he missed it, he is competitive, and you can tell in the way he speaks. And, you can already have that sense in the fact that he is a freshman fall enrollee.
Yeah.
getting the
that's
reps
a good
that
point
he is.
too. Fallen. That's
It's insane that he's being trusted to the degree that you just described.
And the best part about that play was, I'm glad you brought it up. That's so tough to do, to come in the fall. And when there's so many transfer guys and guys that got to jump start to climb the ladder and go be a starter and have the coaching staff and the players trust you. But the best part about that and how I know that he's fitting in this locker room perfectly is when they showed the back angle of the play. You see Jacoby Lane was like so excited for him, and then when he dropped it, you could see how disappointed he was that he wanted it for the freshman. And when you have a bunch of guys on the roster, because it would have been easy for Jacoby to say, hey, I want that. That's a ball I should get for a touchdown. But no, give it to the true freshman. I'm rooting for that guy, so I can't wait for him. As soon as he rips the Band-Aid off, gets that first touchdown, it's going to be awesome. But it's coming soon. He's a very good player, and obviously this offense trusts him.
Now I'm curious what you took away from the run game performance, solely because I at first was like, okay, Purdue's defense is having, success against the USC's run game, but then Eli Sanders came in, and I felt like he was more successful. What did you see the difference between first half Wayman and second half Wayman?
Yeah, it felt like Wayman got off to a little bit of a slow start and wasn't as patient as I wanted him to be. And I'm not going to put it all on him. The offensive line could have been better with some of their communication up front and getting around and getting those kick-out blocks, but just couldn't find that spark, right? And that's tough sometimes as the starter or as a running back in general, to where you have a 1-yard gain, a loss of 1, a 2-yarder, a 5-yarder. You just have to keep hitting it, keep trusting it. You're going to break one open. And this game, it just happened to be put Eli Sanders in there, let him go get an explosive play. The run game started working a little bit more. And I love that Lincoln Riley didn't just say, okay, Sanders is the hot hand. Jordan, you're done for the day. We're just going to keep feeding Sanders. They brought Jordan back in. He kept that 1-2 punch, and then Wayman broke one. Then he started having some success in the run game, and you could see the confidence in him build. Then they brought in King Miller as well. Have that third back come in. Shout out King Miller, too, earning those reps. That wasn't just given to him. He's earned those. And I'm so happy, and obviously I want Brian Jackson to get healthy and get back, but for him to get those opportunities, to give Jordan and Sanders a little bit of a breather, and Lincoln Riley knows I can put him in there, and we're not going to miss a beat, and we can keep rolling. But the biggest thing for me was that Lincoln didn't abandon the run game. Although it wasn't pretty early on, and it didn't look great, and you didn't have those spark plays, he didn't completely abandon it and turn it into an 80-20 pass-to-run type of game, especially on the road. The biggest thing in those atmospheres and those environments, you got to run the ball on offense, and you got to stop the run on defense. And USC did that, and that's a big part of why they controlled the game in the second half. So that was great to see. And then overall, just the offensive line, like I mentioned, could have been a little bit better early on. I love the way that Killian O'Connor was communicating. You can see him out there, kind of tilts the ball back a little bit. He's pointing, making calls. He looks confident. He looked comfortable. It wasn't too much of a big environment for him. The lights weren't too bright. And then you could tell guys were echoing down the line. Alani Noah was back at right guard. I think that's something to note. We'll keep an eye on that if it's Micah Benuelos or Alani Noah going forward. They've been going back and forth, but overall was proud of how they did in pass protection. Gave up 2 sacks. Wasn't perfect, but in that environment, your first time as a unit, and that's not like receiver where it's like, all right, one guy's over here, one guy's over here. The continuity you need at offensive line, because center works with guard and the left guard and the tackles, they all work as one unit. How they played, I'm very happy overall. Now you just got to keep building off of that, because the defensive lines that you're going to face are going to get tougher and tougher.
And you mentioned Brian Jackson. Actually reminded me of a question we got from Joe Osorio. He said, do you think the B-Jack was missed in those red zone trips last week?
Yes, I love that he asked that. You have such a dynamic running back room, but everyone has a job, right? You have Wayman Jordan, who's an every down back. You have Eli Sanders, who can be an every down back, but he fits more into that Woody Marks role, to where he's that threat out of the backfield as a pass catcher. You have King Miller, who's the home run hitter, kind of like Eli Sanders, but then you have Brian Jackson in this conference, a guy that you need when it's 2nd and 3rd and goal down there by the end zone. I'm feeding him 2 or 3 times in a row. I might even give it to him on 4th down, because he has that power, that speed. He can run you over and get in the end zone. So yeah, I definitely think he was missed. Hopefully he can get healthy and get back soon.
One last point for offense from me. I thought it was interesting that Lincoln Riley mentioned both Trojans Live and post-game press conference how important it was to salt the game away with their run game. He said it felt like they haven't really been able to do that here at USC so far. What does that do for an offense when you can do what they did against Purdue?
That gives you, it makes you feel so comfortable, because with Lincoln Riley's offense, you can play from behind. We know that. We know they're capable of being explosive, but now you can play with the lead but not be conservative. Because normally when you get the lead and you go to the run game, it's like, all right, I just hope the run game's going to work. Now you know it's going to work. Now you know that you have an offensive line that can do it on the road. Now you have, like Lincoln mentioned, one of the best backs or the best running back rooms he's had since he's been here. And when you have that confidence as a play caller to know, all right, we're not just going out there to be conservative. We're still going to be in attack mode, but we're going to do it on the ground with Jordan, with Sanders, with King Miller. It's a good feeling to have, and that is a huge part of last year, not being able to put those games away. We talked about if this team wants to take that next step, You have to win those close games, and you can't win those close games if you don't know how to play with the lead. And when you have a good run game, that makes it a lot easier.
Okay, let's switch over to USC's defense. I feel like in some ways they exceeded expectations on Saturday. 5 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles. What did you see on the whole?
Yeah, I'm going to start up front with the big guys. I mean, this pass rush for USC is the real deal. It really is. I mean, they're legit. They're the sole reason. I want to say sole reason. They're a huge reason why USC won that game, because we struggled in the back end, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But that pass rush was so dominant. Ryan Brown's a good quarterback, too. I got to give credit where credit is due. I know he had. What did you see in person? Did he?
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
On your film study, did he? I felt like he was getting the ball out so quickly.
Yeah.
Did he? I looked at your notes though. You didn't say quickly in the notes. Oh,
that's why he did though.
Oh,
is because of this pass rush, and Josh Henson, I think, recognized that early on in the game.
Because it looked quicker than I saw.
You have to.
Yeah.
And I always, what do I talk about in the offseason when we did those prep episodes or those preview episodes, is that when you go against a dominant pass rush, those shot plays go out the door. You can't sit back there, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hitch, let a post develop. You can't sit back there and let deep crossers develop. Now we're going 3-step and 1-step and getting the ball out.
It was quick.
That internal clock speeds up because you have 5 sacks in that game, and that was the difference maker. I'm glad you noticed that, because when you watch them, early on in the season, I know they played Ball State and Illinois State, and they didn't play tough opponents, but he had more time, and he could take those shots to Ahmad Branch, and he could take those shots to Michael Jack down the field and have those explosive plays. When they tried to do that, what happened? Sack, fumble, interception, or sack to Jaw Jarrett. Shout out Big Man, too, on the touchdown, which was awesome. But that's what a dominant pass rush does for you. USC has 14 sacks on the year right now, which is first, people, in college football. They also have 31 tackles for loss, which is second in college football. When you have that up front, it affects the game plan. I promise you. If I'm Ryan Brown in that game, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, crap. Here they come again. Here comes Cam Fountain. Here comes Braylon Shelby. Here comes Anthony Lucas. Here comes some guys on the interior with Devin Tompkins, Jade Abasiri, Jaw Jarrett, and Thanos. And those guys are starting to build that chemistry and have that depth that they need, to where it's going to be a nightmare for not only quarterbacks but the opposing offensive coordinator. So that was great to see. I'm very happy with how they played. Got to give credit where credit is due, though. Danton Lynn called a phenomenal game, especially on third down. He puts guys in position to win. You just have to go out there and win those reps.
Now, as far as linebacker goes, inside linebacker, I asked Coach Riley about it, because we did see a little bit of Jaden Walker. We did see Tamir Robinson. He got a sack that was timed so nicely.
They looked really good, too.
They did. What did you see from that position group?
Yeah, first thing is we'll start with the big dog, Eric Gentry. Yeah. He's a real deal, man. I mean, he's an unbelievable talent. He's a difference maker on this defense. I went back and watched the film in the offseason from last year, and my mind, I mean, I can remember back crazy games and moments and all these different film study things I've done. It's a blessing and a curse, because my mind's going like this when I talk football. But just watching that defense without 18 on the field, and then watching it with him on the field in Danton Lynn's scheme, night and day. And I know we joke about him being a unicorn, but he is just that. He can do it all, the versatility that he has. I mean, when he's on the field, the defense looks different. It feels different. He's the leader out there. So it's great to have him back. So much fun to watch, and I expect big things from him this year. Potentially could see him on that the All-American walk. Yeah. Could be. I mean, he's up there right now for competing for Big Ten Player of the Year, going to get that national recognition that he deserves. But outside of that, Desmond Stevens, to me, is still getting better. I think he could be a little bit quicker in the run game. Just trust yourself. You're a good football player. Trust your first step. Trust your reads. Trust your keys. Just feels like he's hesitating a little bit. That will come with more reps and time. Tamir Robinson, Jaden Walker, those are two guys that jump off of the film. I mean, you see how Walker comes downhill. Looks like he's shot out of a cannon. Robinson, too, when you let him pressure, he can get in the backfield and make some things happen. So was happy with the linebackers overall. Eric Gentry, obviously a great player. It's just going to come down to who's going to be that next guy to step up. We're seeing flashes from everyone, but they've got to be a little bit better in the run game and get more comfortable in the scheme.
Well, one of the questions we had coming into this game was USC's run defense. Will it take that next step? What did you see there?
Yeah, as a front seven overall, there were a couple big plays, I will say, after that first fourth down, and we were talking during the game when they broke on with Devin Mockabee, their running back. I thought, here we go. 4th and 1. This is where you need to have a great run defense. Goes to the right side, gets a first down, gets a big gain, explosive play on the ground. I started getting a little worried, but the rest of the game was great. I mean, Purdue only had 52 yards rushing. They got in, I don't want to say panic mode, but they started to have to throw the football, so that took away from the run game a little bit because they played from behind, but they only averaged 1.9 yards per rush. If you can go on the road as a defense, as a front seven, and hold your opponent to less than 2 yards per carry as a team, that is winning football. I know that was a concern the last couple of weeks with USC's run defense. Still not fully convinced that, okay, it's going to be perfect. There were a couple times guys were losing their gap integrity, getting moved off the ball a little bit. But overall, I mean, I give them a B+. I was very pleased with that. Not quite an A, not quite an A+. Is it perfect? No, but something to build off of. And like I mentioned, that was a worry the first 2 weeks against those opponents. Went out against Purdue, and I thought they played pretty good in run defense.
Well, sticking on the theme of areas of improvement, I know the secondary is somewhere we've been watching for the last couple of weeks. What did you see in that regard?
Yeah, this was a mixed bag for me. I mean, the turnovers were great. We got some interceptions. I know one of them was Jaw Jarrett. Bishop Fitzgerald pick was awesome. That was huge down there in the red zone. But the problem I had is how they got down there. And there was too much separation for the receivers for Purdue. Again, got to give credit to Ryan Brown. And we talked about him having to speed up his process and getting the ball out because of the pass rush. But when he hung in there, he's going to be a good quarterback. I mean, he could let it rip. He threw guys open. He understood, route concepts and defenses and how to read your defense and where to go with the football, timing, accuracy, all those things. So he's a good quarterback, but he's not the best quarterback we're going to face this year. It's going to get tougher. I am a little concerned right now with the secondary. There's also some injuries, and that keeps happening, which is unfortunate for USC, but you got to step up. It's got to be that next man up mentality, whether it's DJ Harvey or DeCarlos Nicholson or Marcellus Williams or Braylon Conley, guys that are getting thrown out there. And then you move, Christian Pierce and Kamari Ramsey down to that nickel spot to play the slot. We have to get better with our secondary. The positive right now, though, is our pass rush is good. And those guys can get home, and that can mask some of those issues a little bit. But there were too many drives in this game where it was too easy for Purdue and Ryan Brown in this offense to find big plays and explosive plays in the pass game. That's going to happen a little bit on the road, that they're going to dial up some plays. It's, everyone's good in the Big Ten. They're going to find some completions, but it can't be where it's first down after chunk play after chunk play. If they have one here, sure, okay, let that happen in the drive, but then buckle down on the next couple plays. There were too many times that it was too easy for them on offense. It got masked a little bit, like I mentioned, with those interceptions. But overall, like I said, mixed bag. It wasn't the worst performance from them, but it was still something to keep an eye on going forward.
Finishing up areas of improvement, and I feel like this is kind of a overall topic, but penalties. I felt like that plagued USC as well on Saturday.
Yeah, that's been an issue now the last 2 weeks. I mean, 9 penalties for 103 yards last week. That's 17 penalties for 186 yards in the last 2 games combined. Luckily, we're better right now, and we can get away with our raw talent. But when you play better teams this year, when we get to that gauntlet of Illinois and Michigan and Notre Dame and Nebraska, and then you play Oregon, those will be backbreakers. You can't let those be an issue, especially the ones that you extend drives in the hands of the face and the 15-yarders. I've been in those games to where it feels like, all right, we got all the momentum, things are going great, we get off the field on third down, or we just hit an explosive play and you get a holding call and you get a 15-yarder, or you get a roughing the passer or something like that completely flips the momentum of the game. That happened a couple times this week, and it happened last week. We've got to clean that up. That's a discipline issue. I fully expect Coach Riley and this coaching staff to make that a point of emphasis, but it's been 2 weeks now to where that's been an issue in crucial parts. In these games, you just got to get it figured out, and that can't be something that hinders this team going forward.
Okay, my final bullet point on this recap mini episode, if you will.
Yeah, no, this was like a full episode.
I know.
Thanks
for listening. No.
It's like football. It's third down. This is a game within a game.
Wow,
Talk about it all the time.
There you go. Well, you already mentioned this, but I just want to, as someone who was there, it was insane, the weather delay, in the sense that
I'm glad you bring this up. I want to hear this.
And you talked about it, but and Coach Riley talked about it, but they did their full routine.
Yes.
Full, break it down, we're about to go to the sideline and kick off routine. And then it was like, oops, there's lightning. And every time there was a strike, it's a 30-minute clock. So it's not even like you're told, hey, wait an hour, you'll be good to go, lock in, and we'll be out there. It was like, oh, there's another one, reset the clock. It was 3 hours, 3 hours. And I remember when they actually finally started to kick off, I was just like, I can't believe we're actually doing this. I'm so tired right now, and I haven't even watched a game yet. It took a lot to lock back in and to play the game in the way that USC did. Obviously, it was a big emphasis to play better on the road, and their first real test, it's you throw in a different element that you're not expecting for. And I just think that maybe last year's team doesn't handle it as well. I just thought it was very important that this team handled it the way they did and came out with the win.
Well, and for those of us who weren't there, this is good real quick before we move on. So when they came back out, I know you can't go in the locker room, but when I'm sure everyone kind of got undressed and took the pads off and just sat there and was waiting. But this happened against Syracuse too in 2012 when I was here with USC.
Yes.
So we did the same thing. I think it was a couple-hour delay, and that was at halftime, which was wild.
That's
we had
even
to
worse,
eat and refuel, and everyone's sitting in there with listening to music, took all their pads and everything off, and then you had to get redressed again. So I'm curious, when they came back out, Obviously, they gave them a heads up, like, hey, weather's going to pass. We're keeping on it. Did they do a full warm-up routine again? Did it almost feel like it was the restart of the entire day for them when they came out? Oh,
yes.
my gosh.
And they were doing stretching on the side, is credit to the strength and conditioning staff.
Coach True handled that very well.
They brought out mats. They had bands warming up people.
Yeah, we got some view of them under we saw them rolling and stretching out.
It was funny. I thought it was funny too. Coach Riley said that they actually had to calm them down more. They were too hype, which I was like, okay. Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing necessarily when you're in a weather delay.
I will say this too before we move on, which was great. They handled that perfectly. That could have been a disaster. It's easier for the home team that's there. They didn't have to travel. They're not jet lagged for the. Go ahead.
Also, can you speak to how small the away game locker rooms are for the opponents?
That's probably why. Because weren't they in the tunnel? They didn't go back in the locker room, right? At one point,
some of them were in the locker room. Some of them were outside.
Because it's almost a psychological thing.
Of course.
When you go, some of the places I've been have pink locker rooms in the NFL. I mean, it's wild. It's small.
Yes.
Then you go to the home locker room and it's like a 5-star resort.
Sure.
I mean, it's huge in there. You have plenty of room to spare, but no, the away locker rooms are brutal. Notre Dame is insane. I mean, Stanford's another tough place. It's a wild away locker room. It's almost like it gets you flustered before the game starts. I mean, you're getting dressed and putting pads on next to 300-pound linemen. I mean, you're shoulder to shoulder the whole time trying to get dressed. Some guys have to walk out so the other guys can get ready, and then we switch spots so you can get ready. It's wild. So to be on the road and to handle it the way they did, shout out to that USC football team. And I think the last thing that's important to note, and you kind of alluded to it there a second ago, last year, and I'll just be blunt about it, USC finds a way to lose that game. The way that they played a year ago, and I'm not saying it was because of any decision-making or bad, the way they played, it felt like in those moments a year ago, they're not going to win this. Oh, no. This year, I really felt like when we had the lead and Purdue started coming back a little bit and things weren't going perfect, it just felt like a different energy and a different vibe. And Coach Riley still on the sideline, I could see it in his eyes, was like, hey, we're winning this game, guys. And Mayava had that look, and guys on defense had that look, and it felt good, and that gives you confidence going forward. So that was awesome to see, because if this was a year ago, I don't want to say they lose that game, but it gets a little bit more worrisome at the end. This year I felt very comfortable, and I thought they handled everything very well.
Alrighty, Cody. Well, we are turning the page now. Yeah. We did the recap. Let's go to the preview.
Yeah, fight on, guys. Thanks for the episode. Now we're going to the new one.
And start the next episode.
Yeah,
alrighty. It's preview time for USC versus Michigan State. USC's Big Ten home opener in 2025. Overall, Cody, what are you seeing from the Spartans?
Yeah, I'm going to start with their head coach, a guy that's familiar with USC football. His name is Jonathan Smith. He is in his second season as a Spartans head coach. Trojan fans may recognize that name because he was at Oregon State when USC was in the Pac-12 for a couple years. He was there from 2018 to 2023, so USC faced him a bunch during that time, that 2022 game where Caleb had to throw that whole shot to Jordan Addison to win the game. They played us tough that year. They were 10-3 that season, and then in 2023 they win 8 games. So he led that program from 1-11 when he took over to a 10-win and then an 8-win season. And then obviously Michigan State came knocking, and they wanted him to bring his winning culture over to the Spartans. And they're 5-7 last year, so not off to a hot start. This was a program that's been struggling before he got there, and they really haven't been a contender in the Big Ten. I don't know if they're quite there yet, but this season you can start to see flashes of that. They're 3-0 so far in the year. They have wins against Western Michigan, Youngstown State, and then they also had a big double overtime win against Boston College in week 2.
Okay, well, let's look more specifically at Michigan State's offense. It seems, from my understanding, that this is going to be the toughest test so far for USC's defense.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. This offense is led by coordinator Brian Lindgren. This is his second season as a Spartans offensive coordinator. He came over from Oregon State with Coach Smith, so they had that familiarity with this scheme. They also brought some players over with them as well that helped them to start building that culture right away. Through 3 games, Michigan State on offense is 51st in scoring offense and 72nd in total offense. So not the most explosive offense, but they have the talent. And a factor in that, too, is they did jump out to some early leads in those first couple of games.
Gotcha.
Week 1, week 3, a little bit too. So, they didn't play their entire starters, and they played with a lead. So you can't really focus on those numbers until the game gets a little bit more. I mean, against Boston College, they put up, I think, 40 points in that game. So, and that was a good defense. So you can't just look at these numbers at face value. Now, this is a pro-style offense, which is unique. We're used to seeing these air raid spread type offenses, but when you get to the Big Ten, you're going to see some of these. It does have some spread tendencies to it in the pass game. We'll talk about that in a second, but you're going to see quarterback Aiden Childs. He's going to be shotgun a couple plays, and he's going to get under center a good amount, and they're going to run their offense from under center and hand the ball off, go play action, do all these different things. Childs loves to take shots down the field. Big week for our secondary. We were just talking about that was a concern. Now it's time to go out there and show what you can do. They love to get under center, go play action. It reminds me a little bit of Lane Kiffin's offense when I was here before it got to what he has now at Ole Miss, to where we'd go under center, get 2 tight ends, go power run, outside zone, run these different plays. And then the fourth time we're going play action, max protection, double post to Nelson Aguilar and Marquise Lee and things like that, right? So it reminds me of that type of offense. The same thing he did at Oregon State when he had those explosive offenses on that side of the football. So we've got to be ready for those shots downfield. He will throw it up. I don't care if it's triple, double coverage. Some of those times he trusts his guys on the outside to go run by you. I mean, there's times to where he's even with the DB, but there's a safety and a backside corner over top. He is letting it fly.
Okay.
So kind of plus minus on that as to where they hit a fair amount of those deep shots, but also the DBs are going to have a chance to make a play on it, and they do have some turnovers through the air. He only has one interception, so he knows when to take those shots and when to check it down, but the reason he does that is because he has guys on the outside that he trusts. Now, they do have a balanced attack on offense, and like I mentioned, they do like to get under center when they do, and we're talking run game specific, downhill runs, duo runs. They want to get 5, 6, 7-man fronts, bring in 2 tight ends, and they're going man on man. It's a ton of man blocking. They're going to wash to the right, wash to the left, let the running back go outside zone, and then find the hole. It's not those design type runs to where it's, all right, combo block, we're going A-gap on this run. Give the ball to the back, let them work downhill, find a cutback lane. Gap integrity this week is so important. Desmond Stevens, trust your read. Eric Gentry, be where you're supposed to be at that second level up front. Don't try to be the hero and jump back to the A-gap when they're washing you to the right. Just play with the offensive line. Get your hand in their chest, shed, and then go make the play. You got to make sure that you trust your buddy next to you. It's a huge week for 11-man football. Now, when they do get to shotgun, you heard me mention pro-style offense with air raid and spread-type tendencies. Those are the concepts you're going to see, those West Coast concepts. You're going to see crossers, especially on third down. You're going to have a bunch of window dressing, guys doing pick routes, guys going over the top. You're going to have level routes to where it's a post with a deep out or a deep flood concept and then something underneath where they go 1, 2, 3. Be ready for that. And then you're also going to see some full field progressions to where I'm going to take my shot to the right if it's there with a post or a go, but then I come back to a sit, a spot, a swing to the left. So for our defense, it's going to be an advantage in the pass game. It's very similar to what Lincoln Riley runs in those concepts. It's a copycat league, although it is pro style, but when you get the shotgun and you're throwing it on third down, on second down, on those passing situations, very similar to what Coach Riley runs here at USC. And then they love to use bunch formations. And what I mean by that is they're going to go a man on the point and then 2 receivers outside of him. They love to condense it down and get in those bunch formations, especially on third down when you play man. I don't want to give everybody, flashbacks, but go back to week 1 against Missouri State. We go bunch formation. They run a little switch release, and guys are miscommunicating and don't know who has who, and they have a walk-in touchdown. I promise you, with how much they do bunch formations, that is going to be a big part of their offense this week, especially when you get in those third and mediums and it's an obvious man-to-man situation. Danton Lynn loves to bring pressure. If you bring pressure, you got to play man on the back end. So be ready for that. Communication with the secondary is huge this week. They love to use pre-snap motion, but they also use pre-snap shifts. And that's not something you see a whole lot with these air raid type offenses. But when you get to pro style, what I mean by that is they will use wide receiver fly motion, tight end fly motion to where they're coming across, but they'll get up there and go shift or move to where you're going to have the strength to the left. Both tight ends will get up, move at the same time, go to the right, or have 2 receivers to one side. Hey, shift. Both of them will come back and condense on the right, and then the other one goes all the way to the left. They want to get you to where you have to re-identify the strength of formation, and then before you can figure out what's going on, they snap the football. So you have to be ready for that. And then the last thing, Aiden Childs is, I don't want to put him in that dual threat category, and I'll talk about him in a second when we get to personnel and the type of quarterback he is, but you've got to be ready for him in the run game. When they go shotgun runs and they get out of those under center plays, it will be zone read. He's going to read that backside defensive end. If you crash, make sure you have a linebacker scraping over the top. And they also get some quarterback design runs to where he's in shotgun, go empty or go 3-by-1 formation, 3-step drop look, and then the offensive line works up and he gets those design runs and those quarterback draws. So you got to be ready for that. But overall, it's a tough offense. They aren't quite running it at the level they did at Oregon State those last couple of years because it's new and this is their second year in the scheme, but you see flashes of how good they can be. So when it comes to personnel and Smith and Lindgren and their scheme, yeah, this is probably the toughest test they're going to face so far this year.
Well, you mentioned the bunch formations, and that kind of reminds me of a lot of questions we got, so much so that I made a MASH question, and I'll ask it here. Basically, everyone wanted to know, are there quote-unquote quick fixes for USC secondary or those miscommunications that they're having?
Yeah, I mean, there is, yes. And it's frustrating. Obviously, as a player, it was frustrating, but now I view the game more as a coach, I guess, if that makes sense, just with how much film I watch and I'm not going on the field. And I know this probably keeps Danton Lynn up at night because I guarantee you in the film room with how much Lynn breaks the game down and he doesn't jump ahead and he makes sure everyone understands install 1, even if it takes a couple days before he goes to 2, 3, and 4. And I promise you that trickles down to his coaches as well. They go over that so many times in the week. So I know he is just up at night with his eyes on the ceiling about how much more can I teach how to play the bunch? How much more can I teach how to in and out these, switch releases, these other things? So, yes, I think it is a quick fix because that's something you can control. Yeah. It's not, and there's good offenses to where they're going to game plan and dial up some calls and then do these things. But if you know your keys and you are ready for every scenario, there should never be a situation where it's a missed assignment. Now, you might get outplayed if it's man-to-man and you're playing a good receiver. They might route you up and win on the route. That's going to happen sometimes in high-level football. But for it to be a pre-snap miscommunication issue, that's a quick fix. That needs to be a quick fix because teams are going to keep attacking that, especially this week, that bunch formation. We've struggled with it a couple of times, even in the second game against Georgia Southern. Now, that was more of you saw Kamari Ramsey do a signal. That was more of Bishop Fitzgerald not knowing the play call, and everyone else is playing 33 double cloud, and he's playing down tight like he's the flat zone defender. He needed to be deep, but that was still out of a condensed formation. I promise you teams are going to keep doing that. But yeah, it's a quick fix. It's something you work on Monday through Friday. It needs to be fixed on Saturdays.
Now, I feel like an advocate for the layman because I am a layman.
Yeah.
When you go into 33 double cloud, what does that mean?
I know. I got a little carried away sometimes. Like I mentioned, I view the game as a coach now, but
it's great.
33 double cloud is drop 8 coverage, so you're only rushing 3, but now you have clouded coverage to the right and to the left. And what that means is there's a safety over top and then a corner underneath. And then on the left side, safety over top, corner underneath. Like cover 2, but the 33 double cloud element is now you add an extra safety in the game to play the middle. So you have 3 guys over the top. You have 5 guys underneath. You basically take away the entire pass game. On that play, Bishop Fitzgerald should have been that cover cloud safety on the backside, but he played down tight. I think he thought that maybe he was the flat zone defender and the corner was going to be deep. Either way, whatever it was, he needed to be back there. There was no one in that area. Kamari Ramsey was in the middle. I think Harvey or might have been Christian Pierce was the other cloud player on the other side playing over the top. No one was on that side. You got to get back. So that's football, though. When 10 guys do their job perfectly and one doesn't, that leads to points. That leads to explosive plays. So you got to get that figured out. Again, apologize. I got carried away there a little bit. I'm glad you called me on it. That's good. Sometimes I'll say things where I'm sure people are like, what the heck is this guy talking about? But I'm glad I can break it down a little bit. So, again, cover 2 cloud coverage, but now you have an extra safety in the middle, turns it into 33 double cloud.
Well, you mentioned quarterback Aiden Childs. I'm sure that he's one of the red dot players. Can I guess?
He is.
Take us into personnel, Cody.
Yeah, Aiden Childs is, and we've been stingy this week with red dot players, but he absolutely deserves it. This offense runs through him. He's a good football player. He came over from Oregon State from 2023 with Jonathan Smith and this coaching staff, so he has familiarity with the scheme, and it shows. He's a confident football player. He understands what they want to accomplish on that side of the football. I don't want to say risky throws, but he does throw some footballs, like I mentioned, in harm's way, but he knows when to take the shots, and he knows where to miss. And what I mean by that is if I'm running a go route on the outside and there's a safety in the middle, he knows that it's the receiver or nobody. It's either going to be outside shoulder or I'm throwing it out of bounds to where the other defenders can't make a play on the football. If it's a deep post and there's guys trailing him, I'm going to throw it to the opposite hash so he can run underneath it, and your DBs, even though it might be double covered, can't make a play on the football. So far this year, he's 71% completion percentage, 656 yards, 7 total touchdowns, passing and rushing combined, and only 1 interception. So he's protecting the football, and he also has 123 yards on the ground as well.
Now, I know you didn't label him as a dual threat, but when he is mobile, who does that stress on the defense the most? Besides Dan Lynn.
Yeah, and Trojan fans. Probably me and everybody watching from home when we've had our fair share of running quarterbacks in the past that have hurt us. But no, we've been good this year. I mean, the biggest is you just got to know when you're rushing to keep your lanes, right? If you're the defensive end, that's what I would say most importantly is the defensive ends. Once you start crashing down and you lose contain, that's when it'll hurt you on the outside. Yeah. And I'm not going to say he's not a dual threat quarterback. The reason I didn't say dual threat is because it's a pro style system. It's not, He's not back there in every single play is zone read and he's going to take off 20 times a game. A lot of the run game is under center, reverse out, like I said, those stretch plays, those outside zones. So he's not a huge factor. That's why I didn't put him as a zone read in the run game, but he can still hurt you with his legs. We haven't seen, in my opinion, this year, a true dual threat quarterback who's going to go out and throw for 250 and run for 150 or run for 100 if you let him. Childs is not that guy, but he can hurt you on the ground. But yeah, the back to your question, just can't lose contain. Stay in your rush lanes. Don't be a hero again. Make sure you do your job. And then if he does get to that second level, linebackers, make sure you come up, break down. Don't just come flying up and trying to have a kill shot. Break down, front hip, same shoulder, and go make a good tackle.
Now, as far as the weapons that Childs has, who are you looking at there?
Yeah, on the outside. And these guys were very tough for me not to give a red dot. I mean, it's These are guys that could be red dot players later, just through 3 games and who the competition has been. No knock on their opponents. I'm not ready to give them that red dot yet. I want to see them more as they go on, in Big Ten play. We won't, though, probably, because after this game, we won't go back and watch Michigan State. But
look, with you, I never know when you're going to pull up film.
I watch film all over the place. Yeah, I'll watch a random game on a Saturday. But
yes.
The first guy is sophomore wide receiver Nick Marsh. He is an explosive player down the field, 16 receptions, 194 yards, and he leads the team with 3 touchdowns this year. If he's going to throw those deep shots, you got to find Marsh. He's the guy that he wants to get the football to. And then the other one is Omari Kelly. Kelly has 15 receptions for 184 yards, another dynamic player on the outside for Aiden Giles.
And you mentioned this pro-style offense, so I'm assuming their tight ends like to get involved in the pass game as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. When they're out in the field, look for Marsh and Kelly for those explosive plays. When they get to the red zone, be ready for 2 tight end groupings, 2 tight end personnel, some play action. They're going to roll the pocket, get some of those over routes with the tight end, but they are absolutely a factor in the red zone. Kamari Ramsey, Christian Pierce, Bishop Fitzgerald, guys like that. Even Desmond Stevens and Eric Gentry, be ready to cover those guys down in the red zone because they have a couple touchdowns already this season.
And then run game-wise, what are you looking at there?
Yeah, like I mentioned, they're a balanced attack. They're not explosive in the pass game. They're not explosive in the run game. They have explosive plays, but they're not jumping off the sheet, right? They're right around the middle of the pack in both. But when they do run the football, their lead back is Mekhi Frazier, 5'10", 220-pound sophomore. So not the tallest guy in the world, but has a great center of gravity. He will run you over. If you're not ready for it, you got to come up and break down, and the low man wins, so you got to be ready at that linebacker spot. He has 43 carries for 206 yards and 2 touchdowns already this season.
Alrighty, Cody. Well, we gave a good amount to the offense. I want to look at the defense now. Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Audi. What you expect from an SUV is a range of sizes to fit your lifestyle. Expectations matter, but exceeding them matters more. The Audi family of SUVs, progress you can feel. Like I said, switching gears to Michigan State's defense, what do you see overall on film, Cody?
Yeah, this defense is led by coordinator Joe Rossi. Very experienced coach. He's been coaching for 20 years. This is his 2nd season now with Michigan State, another coach that joined when Coach Smith got here. They have been off to a slow start this season. I don't want to say they've been bad, but they've had some highs, some lows. They're 75th right now in scoring defense, and they're 73rd in total defense. They have been phenomenal at stopping the run, though. They're 9th in the country right now in run defense, but as good as they are stopping the run, they have been very poor at stopping the pass. They're 118th in passing defense. I expect this week Jade Mayava and Coach Riley to be sitting in the film room right now and coming up with a game plan, knowing that, okay, we want to be balanced, but we can get after these guys through the air this week.
Now, as far as what this defense runs scheme-wise, what have you seen on film?
Yeah, this is a 4-2-5 defense, and that's been the theme so far this season for USC and the defenses that they have faced. That's what college football is really turning into because of all these air raid and spread type offenses, and this week is no different. When I say 4-2-5, though, for those of you who don't know, that means 4 defensive linemen in the game, 2 linebackers, and then 5 defensive backs. So you have both corners, both safeties, but that 5th DB is that nickel defender that plays at that linebacker spot. This is not a huge pressure team on early down and distances, but they will do it. So be ready for that. And what I mean by that is it may look like, okay, this is just regular cover 2. Then they're going to bring a nickel defender, drop the safety down, play 1 high. This might look like, okay, they're rotating over to the right, but then at the last second, the will blitz backside, dropping in into coverage. So you just got to have your antenna up. I wouldn't go up there expecting pressure the entire time, but who knows this week? They may mix it up a little bit, try to get after Jaden Mayava. I mentioned that they struggled in the pass game. Their answer this week might be, hey, let's bring some more pressure. Let's try to get the football out a little bit quicker. They struggle with pre-snap motion, especially in the pass game. I guarantee you this week Lincoln Riley is coming up with fly motions, hitting it on the run, going 3 or 4 verts, hitting it on the run, running a quick out route, getting those slide routes to Lake McCree, to some of the receivers, getting them those little toss passes that we do all the time with Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, some of our skill guys. So I expect that to be a big part of the offense this week. They struggle communicating. They try to rock and roll their safeties, meaning that the safety that's down over here and they motion away, he's going to go back to that free safety spot, and then the other safety is going to rotate down to that flat zone area, which I'm not a huge fan of because now if you have a safety that's late getting to the backside, Lincoln Riley's going to snap it. You can take advantages of those seam routes, those voids in the defense, and then the guy rotating down is going to be late to the flat. So I promise you again, Lincoln Riley's in there with his note sheet watching this stuff, dialing up some plays already. They like to play their linebackers close to the line of scrimmage, meaning that if you have a tight end on the right, they're going to walk their Sam up on the line of scrimmage. Sometimes they'll rotate over, bring a safety down, walk their will up to the line of scrimmage. So now you get those tighter 5, 6, 7-man boxes, which makes it difficult to run the football. They also do a good job of mixing up their coverage in the back end, meaning that you're going to see a good amount of zone, you're going to see a good amount of man. You can't get a beat on what they're going to do and get complacent of thinking, okay, they're going to run cover 4 this entire series. They're going to show you some 4, some 6, some cover 3, play man-to-man. Now, with the struggles they've had in the back end, and the receivers and the talent that USC has on the perimeter, I don't expect this to be a big man-to-man game. I mentioned they might bring some pressure, but when you bring pressure, you got to play man-to-man. So it's going to be interesting to see in that first quarter what their MO is going to be this week. Are they going to be a pressure team that wants Jaden to get the ball out? Or are they going to drop 8 and play coverage this game and just have him take the checkdowns and go the long way down the field and not give up those explosive plays? So that'll be something to keep an eye on. They don't do a great job of getting pressure on the quarterback, even though they're very good up front. They have good players up front, but they've struggled to get home on the back end. They only have 6 sacks on the year, which was lower half of the country right now, but they have good players up front, and they're close. So I'm not going to say don't worry about the pass rush. You can tell that they got some guys on the edge that can go around a guy, can go through a guy. They got some guys inside that they do a good job with those twist moves, and the interior guys can work outside. So I'm not saying don't worry about the pass rush. They've just struggled to get home. I feel comfortable right now, though, with our offensive line. So I know that, Coach Hanson's going to have them ready this week for those in and out calls when they twist, when they do these different looks, when they walk the Sam up, like I mentioned, on the end of the line of scrimmage and bring him. Tight ends will be ready to block. Running backs will be ready to know that, hey, I got the Sam this week, or I'm looking for secondary pressure. They are very disciplined, though, in the run game. And that's why I think they've been so good there and they've excelled, is because you don't see a football team that gets out of their gaps. And I always talk about gap integrity. And what that means is if I'm the 3 technique and I'm responsible for the B gap, you're not going to see him go all the way to the opposite A gap, or he's not going to go outside if it's a stretch zone play. They're going to stay in their gap. They trust their linebackers to come downhill and make a tackle. They just struggle with the DBs to kind of play along in the back end when they throw the football. So it's bizarre that
the disparity between the
two.
They're
9th in rushing defense, and they're 118th in passing defense. Normally, if you see a team excel in one area, okay, they're 9th in rushing defense, maybe they're 50th or 60th in passing defense, but there is a huge disparity between the run defense and the pass defense. Who they've played so far this year could play a little bit of a factor in that. They've had the lead in some of these games, so they've had teams that had to throw the football to play catch-up and all of that. But you would expect with the opponents that they've gone against to be dominant. If they're dominant in the run game, they're going to be dominant in both areas. But I do think that there's a lot to be had in the pass game this week. And then my final note, and most important, in all caps, I even put 5 exclamation points on this one.
You did indeed.
Be ready for third down. This is Danton Lynn type of third down football.
Funky?
It is. It is funky. It is wild. It is exotic. You're going to see different personnel groupings. You're going to see multiple defensive ends. You're going to see multiple linebackers. They're going to bring in extra pass rushers that are secondary players so they can have some speed guys off the edge that they think can get after your running back. They're going to overload the right and have you go, hey, Ricky, and then we're going to bring it from the left, and then they're going to show it on the left, and you're going to make a Linda call to the left side, and they're going to bring Sam, strong safety, from that side. Then they're going to walk everybody up, and you're going to say, oh, shoot, check cover 0. They're bringing pressure, and then they drop 8. It is just so many different things they can do up front, and this is kind of a copycat league, right? You see it in the NFL. You see it in college football, but the problem is when you do that, if you haven't mastered it, and this is their second year in the system, similar to Danton Lynn, we're starting to see it get better right now, but if you do that and you don't have the guys on the outside to cover well or play man-to-man, you're leaving voids in the defense. And there's a lot to be had in the pass game, and guys that are even bailing out, they're late getting to Tanu Kynes in the slot that's running that over route. Their eyes, turn away from the quarterback. Mayava can put it over the linebacker underneath the safety. So I don't know how much we'll see this week. I mean, if I'm Michigan State's defense right now, and I'm coming into this game, and this is our MO, this is who we are, everything that I just talked about, I feel like that needs to take a back seat a little bit because you're not just playing another team. You're playing the number 1 scoring offense and the number 1 total offense in college football with a high-level quarterback and some of the best receivers on the outside and also a run game that can hurt you. I feel like they're going to be confident in stopping the run this week. They've done a good job of that. I like our chances. I like our backs. This is the best running back room they're going to face, but I'm just curious to see what their game plan is going to be at the beginning. Are they going to play more coverage? Are they going to play more pressure? So a lot of questions. I'm getting fired up.
I know you are.
I hate that the game's at 8 p.m. because I'm going to be like game day, just sitting around all day waiting. We do have Trojan Tailgate show that goes live at 6 p.m. though. So if you want to see me,
some dinner and Trojan Tailgate show.
If you want to see me fired up and talking about it on another show, we'll be doing that. But yeah, a lot to talk about. A lot of great storylines this week. I mean, it's wild. 9th rushing defense, 118th passing defense. I promise you, Lincoln Riley's dialed up. So if you love good offensive football and game plans, be ready to watch this Saturday.
Alrighty, let's take a closer look at the Spartans' defensive personnel. Who are you highlighting for Saturday?
Yeah, the top 2 guys on this defense that USC needs to be ready for, and the 2 guys I'm going to start with are their linebackers in the middle. The first one is my second red dot player this week. The first one is obviously Aiden Childs at quarterback. We got one on defense as well, and that is linebacker Jordan Hall, 6'3", 240-pound junior. He is a high motor guy. He is all over the field. He'd be in there when they're in nickel, when we're in base, when we're in those short yardage situations. He is the guy that's going to be in the middle of this defense. He's the playmaker. He can get after the football. He'll get his hand on the football and rip it out. So you got to be ready for that. He leads the team right now with 27 tackles, 2 sacks, so he can get after the quarterback. He has 2 of their 6 sacks, and he has a forced fumble this year. The other guy that's next to him is linebacker and 5th-year senior Wayne Matthews is third. Matthews has 24 tackles and 1 interception so far this season. Now in the back end, in this secondary, the guy that USC has to key on is safety Malik Spencer. He has played a lot of football in his career, a veteran player. You're going to see him in those rock and roll situations. He'll play deep. He'll come down and play at the line of scrimmage. They'll pressure him a couple times off the edge and come down and make some tackles in the run game. And then up front, the 2 guys that this USC offensive line needs to be ready for is DN Jalen Thompson, who I think is probably their best pass rusher on this defense. And then the 2 guys up front that this USC offensive line needs to be ready for is defensive end Jalen Thompson, who I think is their best pass rusher. And then also 6'3", 295-pound defensive tackle Alex Van Summeren.
Now, on the whole, before we get into questions, I'm just curious your overall thoughts on this matchup, because I feel like from what you just laid out for us, this is going to be USC's offense trying to outpower Michigan State's offense.
Yeah, this is going to be, a big game for USC's offense on Saturday, and obviously the defense has to be ready for the pass game. And Aiden Childs, like I mentioned, likes to take those shots down the field. But I will say this, although Michigan State is 118th in passing defense, this can't be a game where Coach Riley goes into it just saying, we're going to throw the ball every single play. Do what's been working. Stay balanced on the offensive side of the ball. Although Michigan State has been great at stopping the run, they haven't seen a running back room with the versatility that USC has. They haven't seen Wayman Jordan and Eli Sanders and Brian Jackson if he's healthy, and King Miller who gets in there to make some of those plays, because if you get the run game going, then the pass game will follow along. Then you can start taking those shot plays. So stay balanced, but I do think our advantage is going to be through the air, to where we can try to force Michigan State to keep up on the offensive side of the ball. And if we can do that, it's going to be a great night for the Trojans.
Alrighty, I want to get into questions, Cody. Before we do, just want to give a thanks to Ralph's. At Ralph's, you get high quality and low prices, so you never have to compromise your budget. Save on thousands of items throughout the store. Ralph's, fresh for everyone. Alrighty, Cody, our first question comes from Sports Enjoyer 79. He says, what body clock is worse for a player, a 9 a.m. kickoff or an 11 p.m. kickoff?
Well, so the 11 p.m., that's going to be tough for Michigan State.
Yeah,
but
sleepy.
You know what? They'll be all right. I'm worried about us. That 9 a.m. kickoff is going to be brutal. I would rather have an 11 p.m. kickoff as a player, as opposed to maybe a fan. I mean, that's tough for them, on the East Coast or the Midwest to have to try to stay up that late for that football game. I mean, the kickoff at 11 p.m., it's going to be, 1:30 a.m. by halftime.
Wild, yeah.
Game, if it's not, a slow-paced game, it's going to be wild. So that's tough. I feel for the fans a little bit, but talking about USC, that is brutal. As a player, it is going to be so tough to travel, and hopefully they go 2 days early with this situation because of the news, that it's going to be that 9 a.m. kickoff West Coast time. Hopefully they go 2 days early. If they don't, even if they go Friday, they're going to have to leave first thing in the morning. It's going to be so tough to travel. You have a 2-hour time difference, so that's going to make it even more interesting. But the game's at 11 a.m. local time, so you're waking up, probably 4 hours before it's 7 a.m. That's 5 a.m. wake up for your normal body clock. That's just, and then not only are you just waking up, sometimes, you wake up, you're tired, you go into the workout, you do the warm up, you're waking up to go play a football game. Like, you've got to go play a game and get ready to go and put pads on and go be physical. So I know they'll be ready to go. They're going to handle it the right way. Coach Riley, Coach True, they know how to handle this situation. Look, if they handled last week, they can handle anything. But as a player and a personal opinion, give me the night game every single day of the week.
We finally got a question from Trojan Sam. He says, is it fair to say that Jaden's the opposite of Caleb in that he's great when things are in rhythm and in structure, but struggles some when he has to extend plays and play out of structure? Do you think we'll see more drop 8 from opposing defenses to force him out of structure more often? Yeah,
I'll say that. And that's a great point. People always say, get pressure on a young player, get pressure on a young quarterback, get after him, and I'm not saying he's a young guy, but he's, this is his first year being the full-time starter. I think it's worse for a quarterback when you play coverage and you make him have to dictate his, if it's zone, is it too high? Is it cover 6? Is it cover 4? Is it cover 3? When you go pressure and play man-to-man, I can just close my eyes and know I'm picking my best matchup and throwing the football, right? I got to go route on the right, hold the safety, let it rip. I can pick where I'm going with the football. There's not a lot of processing in that. Now you got to figure out where the protection's coming from or the pressure's coming from and where to send the protection. But when they go drop 8 and they play coverage and take away those quick throws or that first and second read, and then you got to play off schedule is what we call it, that gets a little bit more difficult for a young guy or a guy that hasn't been doing it for a while. But no, I think that's just part of his development. Like last week, I was so proud of him when the play broke down, when he scrambled a couple times, and he just threw it out of bounds. Throw it over Lincoln Riley's head, right? Just dirt the football. Take a sack sometimes. I know we don't want to take a lot of sacks, but instead of trying to make a big play and now you have, a huge turnover or you get a sack fumble because you're trying to throw it while you're going down, just go down with the football, live to see another play, and don't compound the problem. Those big plays will appear. Those things will happen. Caleb Williams is a unique football player. That is a high pedestal to try to put Jaden Mayav on. If that's the bar, not a lot of people in college football are ever going to live up to that. I do think he can get there, though. I don't think he's as mobile as Caleb, but he has enough athleticism to where he can make plays with his legs and make plays on the ground. It just comes down to me, like Sam is saying, if the play's not there and you get off schedule, make those right decisions, right? If it's a throwaway, that's fine. If it's a 20-yard over route that shows off your arm talent, then make it, but make sure that you're not forcing plays and having turnovers.
Now, full disclosure, I asked a lot of questions at the top of the show. Like, I was sprinkling them throughout, and I also mashed them through. So we only have 2 more questions left, and they're both about the time as well. Kind of redundant a little bit. A Trojan bias, which sounds like your burner account, says, will the 8 p.m. start affect us? I feel like Michigan State may be tired.
Yeah, I mean.
What's funny is Coach Riley was asked about this, and he said, hey, I'm not opposed to sleeping more and catching up on some sleep Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's a good point, too. But I'll say this. They're college kids. And we and look, this was early on, not when I got, towards the end of my career, when I was a starter. Yeah. But, man, I was going to bed at 3 a.m. and waking up for a 5:30 workout my freshman year.
My goodness.
Now, Matt Barkley was a starter.
Youth is wasted on the
exactly,
young.
that's what stands. I mean, they're fine. They don't go to bed. They're up till 2, 3 a.m. Now, the fans, like I mentioned.
Yeah,
right, yeah. Now, the fans, not nowadays, man. I'm friggin'. Especially with how much I'm working right now. Yeah, it's 9 p.m. I'm like, waiting for my son to go to sleep. I'm like, hey, babe, we putting them down tonight? But,
yeah, seriously.
Or I'm in there on the iPad doing film breakdown, so we'll see. But
true.
Yeah, I mean, they're young. They'll be fine. Now, the coaches may get a little tired. The fans watching from home might get a little tired. But, I think the players will be fine. It's just the routine is what gets messed up the most, is that you're used to, waking up, going to class, practicing at 2 p.m. every day. Your body's gotten used to practicing at 2 p.m., how to fuel, how to recover afterwards. Now you change that. That's not something that you work on. Now, hopefully that week of practice, it's tough at college, though, because in the NFL you can do that. Okay, you got a Thursday night game. You're playing Sunday night football. You're playing Monday night football. I don't have class to worry about. Yeah. I don't have tutoring. I don't have homework. We're just going to go night practice this week. Okay, fine. And then we'll adjust from there. In college, you can't do that. You can't go, hey, we're going to miss class this entire week and we're going to go night practices. You have to stay on your schedule. And then when game time comes, hope that your body gets acclimated quickly to that time. So that's the biggest factor. But no, they'll be fine. Now, hey, listen. And the only reason I was staying up late, too, let me put that out there, I was, studying and doing homework.
Of course.
That's why I was up till 3.
Film nerd Cody was just, really.
As an 18-year-old college student,
yes,
that's what I was doing.
As all college students do.
I was
so
a freshman.
Studious.
I wanted to get ahead on my academics.
Of course. Last question comes from Amy, who says, I thought these late games were supposed to go away with the Big Ten. I'm so confused. So this seems to be a common thing in my mentions as well.
Yeah, you take this one.
And no, I'm not as educated as I probably should be on this topic, to be quite honest, but it is not a conference thing. It's not a school thing. It was funny. Some Michigan State fans were like, why would USC choose this time? It is a network thing, a TV network
that's
thing.
A great point.
So
great point.
That's why, like, sometimes if you see like updates from us that go, the networks have decided to do a 5-day hold, like, it's really based on everyone at the networks playing Tetris to try and get the best ratings that they can. And so having a West Coast offense of USC, they probably wanted to slate other games earlier and then slot USC to 8. So then for their sake, you're getting like wall-to-wall coverage of high ratings. That's basically why they do that. So it's not the schools, not the conference, it's the TV networks, because that's kind of what runs our lives a little bit.
Don't come for us. You write your letters to Fox and CBS and NBC and all those companies. It's not a USC problem. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You have to do that.
Yeah.
That's the world that we live in, whether it's NFL, college, games get flexed all the time. A team becomes a dark horse, and now they're a top contender, and now it's like, okay, we want to put them in the prime slot. You may get dropped to the lower slot, like the week after against Illinois. Is that going to be big noon kickoff?
It
correct?
is, yeah.
So now you got 2 teams. Hopefully USC handles business this week, and Illinois does as well. And now you're going to have 2 ranked opponents on big noon kickoff. So it's going to change, and that's why some of those time slots say TBD. But it makes sense. Hey, this is entertainment business. That's what it is.
Entertainment. I mean, you talked about a Thursday night game. That's why there's Thursday night games.
Yeah, really. I mean, nowadays, I mean, I think it's week 8 or week 7. That's when it starts. The college games are like Tuesday, and when there's those random Tuesday and Wednesday night games that some of those teams around the country. But once we get to about week 8, there's football Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and everybody's got to find. Yeah, no one's complaining, but you got to find a TV slot and what works. So it's probably a nightmare. But buckle up. We're going to get we'll see. Ask us in 2 weeks and the fans as well. Let's see who everybody likes more. Do you like the 8 p.m. start or are you going to like the 9 a.m. start? We'll figure it out.
I'm the guinea pig too because I travel with the team and like I'll be up that early. So I will tell you, I feel like it evens itself out. Like I'm not playing the game, but I am older. So like it's a neutral. Like I'm still going to be taxed. So I'll let you know how bad it is over the next 2 weeks or my immune system will let you know.
No, don't jinx us.
No, not putting that out there.
Wood,
knocking on wood there.
With all that being said,
yes, wrap us up,
State
Cody,
of the Union
please.
real quick on USC football. I feel great right now. Like a positive to take from that last game. And I don't say that lightly. That was a game last year that I worry that USC doesn't find a way to win. They found a way to win. They're 3-0. They're back to being a Lincoln Riley offense that we're used to seeing. Jade Maava's playing great. Receivers are great. Running back room's great. Defense looks very good. I know we're being critical, and we're always going to be here at USC. There's high expectations, but I'm very happy with how they're playing. Let's let some DBs have some time to work in a little bit. Maybe this is the week they step up and we see some great cover corners on the outside. But overall, 3-0. You're winning every game 1 week at a time. Spartans this Saturday in the Coliseum. Show up, too. Yeah. They wrote that letter. Coach Riley's been advocating for it. I'm going to do the same thing. If you can get to the Coliseum, and I know there's different things like work and financial situations. If you can't be there, I understand. But if you can, please be there. We need to create that atmosphere. I know this is 8 p.m. game, so this probably isn't the game to say, hey, everyone be there and stay at the Coliseum until 1 a.m. But look, we got to show support to the Trojans. They're winning football games. They're 3-0. Make sure you're there. Fight on. Love everybody. We will see you Sunday, too, or Monday, whenever the episode releases. Yes. But we will have a recap episode this week. I promise that. But let's go get it done this Saturday. All righty. You wrapped us up with the State of the Union. That's pretty nice, Cody. All righty. That's going to wrap it up. That's Cody. I'm Keely. We will see you for the recap on Sunday.